in your work as artists, what do you think the role of the arts is in the scourge of gender-based violence or in the activism of gender-based violence? Where do you see the arts coming in, and what should we do more? Or what should the arts do more in that space in terms of activism and all of that? I'll start with you.
I think my first response is to say magnify if that's what you feel called to do, and if it's the time when you feel like you want to make work that magnifies, and there's room for that. But I think it's something that we've been speaking about in this conversation as well, that it's important to make work about other things as well. That's our activism as creators as well, is to make other stuff, that shows people our full human experience, that we are not just a singular story or idea or whatever. And I think that there's value in creatives or artists just make the work that you feel called to make, actually. And make work that will make you feel alive, and make you feel good, I'm realizing the importance of that now, maybe being in a pandemic and this constant reminder of death and people dying. There's a lot going on, and so it's become important to just engage in work that fuels me, but also that will allow me to be able to wake up the next day and make the work, because if I can't even get up to do the work, then I don't even know, So that's activism too, making work that makes you feel good and alive, and other things other than the situations of... Yeah.
I agree. I think we need to do something completely not traumatic, so that we can spread some love. It is the most powerful thing to experience somebody from the opposite sex that just stands in his own power. It is the most powerful thing, because it means that I don't have to negotiate anything except myself. I don't have to negotiate him as well. And what that does is it makes me more woman, because I don't have to fight back within an area that is traditionally male. I don't have to get down like that. I can just be woman. And what we're asking for is not to be like a man. We're just asking to be women within our own spaces, safely, next to others, with our children, with our husbands, with our partners, with our friends. That's all we're asking for. But it becomes tricky when your home is not a safe space, when your school is not a safe space, when the traveling mode of transport is not a safe space, when your work is not safe, when your church is not safe, when whichever culture you belong to is not safe. Because who we are is always being taken away from us. But definitely, there is always room for love.
Sure. Okay. So my last question is two-pronged. Speaking of spotlighting and making sure that the right attention is kind of focused to solutions. what would you say, or what are your thoughts with regards to the role of men and the government in this space of activism and gender-based violence?
The role of men and the government.
Yeah, the role of men and of the government, any one of those two or together combined.
I think their role is the same role that's been given to us, which is, I think people made gender-based violence like a woman's issue. It's not a woman's issue, it's an everybody's issue. And so I think that would be their role, the same responsibility and task that's placed on us it's placed on them as well. The thing about I was thinking about the other day was, when was it that the Minister of Education, Angie, made that other comment about educated men don't rape, which was addressing school children, and school children were like, but babes, like, where have you been,
Oh.
And so I think that and then Begitale also like about a month ago when alcohol was banned again for, I don't know, how many time, he made a comment about like a gender-based violence issue about like, his friends, alcohol has to be banned because his friend murdered a woman because of alcohol. And then, like you hear, and whenever these comments are made by ministers or people in power, those things trend, and then, like people start to adopt all sorts of funny things, and not that they didn't have those thoughts anyway, but I think, I don't know if this is even possible, but my wish would be that government just, I want to say get educated, but like just
Be aware. Yeah.
Yeah, be aware, you hold so much power and so much weight, the things that you say won't just be taken lightly and jail, and so I think that there needs to be more awareness there, more sensitivity, more education. I don't know how that could happen, and I just feel like it should have happened already. I don't know what the solution is there, but these statements by people in power are very, very, very harmful. And so I know that we are a country that has a great sense of humor. We love to laugh. We laugh at anything and everything, actually. We are also a very traumatized country. You would never tell because we can make a joke out of anything and everything. And so when ministers make statements like this, I know that we have the ability to turn things around into jokes and make light of things. But actually, in the long run, and in different corners of the country, those statements are actually quite harmful, and they have effects in the long run.
Ooh, that's quite a loaded question.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they should be put together. Government has a tendency to take whatever the issue is of the day and spin it into, something kind of glorifying themselves.
Sure.
And then things get messy because then it ends up about the glorification of themselves instead of what the issue really is. And then the people at grassroots level suffer. Felisa Abafazi in Lavender Hill, and Lucinda Evans and the work that she does there, for example, she has had to maintain her own independence throughout whatever constituency arrives, tries to give money and say, here. Because if it's not the DA, then it's the ANC, it's whatever group, wanting to hijack something which is born out of a need of what people want and what they need. There's very, very little, as far as I know, help from government at grassroots level. Little to none. But they're very quick to jump on the bandwagon and give figures. And then there's discrepancy of the money and given and who takes what and stuff that gets pocketed. I'm so sick of it. It makes me tired. So I totally understand when somebody like Lucinda Evans goes, I'm standing on my own here. I'm going to go to 1 Billion Rising and I'm going to try and see what I can do there. And people looking at her work going, yes, I'm going to help however they're going to help. Whether it is in kind or whether it is actually money. And I see a woman who's working on behalf of other women where every single day it starts off with a prayer. It's a call out for a need. And people looking at that and contributing. Men and women. People contributing. South Africa is one of the most violent countries in which to live on a daily basis. It has been for centuries. Is it going to change immediately with one campaign? No, I don't think so. That is who we are. We are violent. We are violent in the way that we greet each other. We are violent in the way that we interact with each other. But one thing we also are is resilient, is that we've learned how to cope in the violence. For me, it's about equipping people with skills so that they can cope in the violence. And hopefully then the violence within themselves will just back down. And again, I say people, no matter the gender, let's give them some skills so that they can cope with the violence within themselves so that they can then, it will hopefully help them to cope in their daily lives. It's a catch-22 situation. But with this campaign, there's so many amazing voices that are together and are speaking their own truth from where they're standing, that I believe that it can't not make a difference. And again, if it just changes one person's life, one person, then for me, that's an aim that has been met.
This was wonderful. Thank you so much for allowing yourselves to be vulnerable and sharing your experiences. I think we've kept to our 40 minutes, and yeah, I'll end the conversation here. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being here and for chatting with us. I mean, this is not an easy conversation, but it's a necessary one, so thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.